as we jump in to Champion Select.
Thank you very much, dear. Now, we have had a bit of B1 Kai'Sa action, but it's actually been banned here by Pain. Juliera has turned his hand to it once, didn't get the win, but did have a pretty decent game on it. On the Liberty side, the Xayah and the Ivern and the Vi removed, so with the Pop being the last ban, there is still a Wukong angle in that jungle, and there's obviously plenty of priority mid laners to pick from as well.
Melio taken off the board on the Engager patch, so a little bit of an interesting choice for myself specifically. Tristana B1, the open-ended flex pick, pairs nicely with a lot of Wass's engage tools down on the bot side of the map, and of course is a very self-sufficient mid laner for Avenger as well. Would like to see a, well, there we go, strong AD carry to try and answer has been picked up for B-Voy. No surprises, it's Pain Gaming opting into Aphelios. I think that throughout the entirety of split number 1, this was the premier ADC, and the champion didn't actually get any nerfs on 12-13, so the fact that it's not been as present, a little bit surprising to me.
Yeah, not too much to question here as to why the Aphelios isn't coming through, but the Maokai for Karaoke, once again a fairly standard pick. We're seeing a lot more Maokai these days. Now the Vi is being banned more than picked, even above the Wukong, right? They're happy to take that Maokai first with all the disengage and utility that it does offer. For AC though, we probably would expect something a bit more aggressive. I honestly would love to see the Wukong from him just because of it's so strong in that regard, but it is going to be the Sejuani instead. So not going to be the high priority Wukong that I would have loved to see. Now, I'm wondering what Dinkato is going to pick here, because he knows he might have a Tristana to deal with. Some of these mages are a bit scared of dealing with that all-in potential.
Equally, you could match fire for fire and go for... I actually want to touch on the Syndra from last game, because I think that champ's actually bonkers this patch. And I would love to see more Syndras in the CBLOL. That's by the by, though. Liberty, they reveal the flex very early, and I actually don't think this is revealing anything. They just reveal that they have 2 AD carries, and both of these can be played mid, both of these can be played bot lane. And I'm going to say it, Trajan, both of them can be played top lane as well. It's happened in the past, and I genuinely wouldn't put it past Chiari. If there's a blind pick tank from Wiser, that Varus top lane absolutely shreds them if you go AP.
Yeah, Pain now looking to lock in what looks like to be their mid laner in this final first rotation slot, and please don't do this to me, man. Don't give... Oh my word. They had the Vex hovered, man. They had the Vex hovered, and I was like, one, if it's Varus, you hard engage on him with the ult, you can do literally nothing about it, you kill him. If it's Tristana, you hold the fear so she can never jump on you because she instantly gets feared and walks away. And I was like, yes, it's Vex time again. CBLOL Vex was what... one of the things that made me fall in love with this region back in the early 2022, but it is just Ahri, and I will be taking a nap, and I'll see you all next game.
Eternally sad for the Ahri, unfortunately. Now, hopefully, we see a Magi's. And that's going to be that'll be what keeps you interested. If we can get a Magi's built up for Dinkato. Now, Liberty, as we head into this unknown second phase, what we can interpret is that they're going to need a support from somewhere. Of course, IU role swapped, no Varus supports ready for us in patch 13.12. And we're expecting there to be a top lane necessity for Liberty as well. So they're going to have to blind pick one, and they're going to get counter pick on the other. Choices, of course, goes to Pain Gaming as to which they're going to blind as well, also in need of that top lane of that support. For Pain Gaming at the minute, very good range on their composition. The Aphelios plays well at range, the Maokai saplings as well. Good amount of dive in there also with the Nature's Grasp, with the Ahri and the Maokai. You can also pick somebody off quite quickly.
And I think it is notable the respect that we're paying to Chiari here, coming out of the Pain bans, the Renekton and the Jax. Chiari, a player who has been having a remarkably strong run of performances in recent games. Always a guy who has felt a little bit maybe above the level that Liberty had performed in the standings, I think we could say, over the last couple of splits. But now he is finally earning some more of that respect, and Pain, we'll see what they choose to opt into. I was just about to say, they do have the benefit of the Gnar blind. They're kind of the only team really making good use out of this, and Wiser has been dominating himself a fair chunk up in that split.
Yeah, Wiser Gnar is, for those of you, again, that are joining us for the first split, probably one of his key signature champions. We've seen Wiser pilot this for, at the very minimum, 2 years to great success every single time he plays it. And it's also quintessential weak side Pain Gaming. It means that Wiser can be trusted to be left on his own, and they can now put a lot of stock into B-Boy, into Pro Delta, and make sure that their bot lane can't be disrupted, because we identified early on Liberty said it themselves. Avenger in that interview that we had said their bot lane is the problem. That's what we want to target. With the Gnar locked in on the top side, it means that Pain Gaming can be ready to answer any of AC's attacks.
Yeah, the Maokai, that excellent disengage option, such a great protective force to offer. The Ahri can be shoving and roaming to try and cover that bot lane as well. It's going to be tough to crack this bot side for Liberty, but they do have potentially the Rakan now locked in, so they've got an engage option here. CC chaining with the Varus or hard engage with the Tristana there, so they definitely have tools to try and make it work, but it's not going to be an easy task. Pain are so resilient in these early stages, even though they might not accrue the 4 or 5k gold leads that some of our more explosive teams do. They always end up in a good spot when it counts, and when that mid and late game rolls around, they are ready to take the fight to you as the Lulu rounds out the draft. So it is a return to the enchanters in the bot side, the Pro Delta with B-Boy. Of course, the Aphelios Lulu has been dominating for a fair few patches. Dia, would you like to see something else for Pro Delta here, or how does the Lulu strike you?
I think it works pretty well, and I'm happy for Rudu to tell me that I'm wrong, because I know they will if I am. However,
you get the vouch this time. You're doing well so far.
Looking at the history of Pain Gaming, they started the split with B-Boy on Aphelios. He had an enchanter support at that time. It was Yuumi, and he wasn't under any pressure, and they won the game because B-Boy won them the game. Against Liberty this time, I think there's a little bit more pressure here. Looking at things like the Varus, the Tristana, the Rakan, the Cassante, I'm worried, but I'm not breaking a sweat just yet. Rudy?
Agreed. We need a cleanse on B-Boy. Pro Delta, if you rush me and Mikhails, you're going to be my best friend. Because we have Sejuani engage, followed up with Chain of Corruption. If you buy a Mikhails, you buy a cleanse, I think B-Boy goes untouched this game.
Hey, and when he does, it's terrifying. You guys already talked about, some of the tools that Pain Gaming have to keep their carry safe. On the other side, Liberty have chosen to jump onto the Tristana again. This time they actually get to flex it into the mid lane, but it was a grim look yesterday, Trajan. I'm a little worried, but how are you feeling about Trist?
I like the Trist for Avenger. I think it's a champion that it fits his playstyle very well. I just feel like I'm looking at Pain's comp. It's just the easiest comp to execute of all time, man. It's just like double tank, frontline on top side, Ahri in mid lane, the most unpunishable champion in the world, and then Aphelios Lulu down there. Like, I maybe wanted to see something a little more out of left field from Liberty to try and break this. I feel like if you give Pain a draft like this, I just don't think Liberty has the stuff to crack it open, right? Pain are too consistent at this point. They've really gotten into their groove at this point in the split, and Liberty's still trying to find theirs. Yes, they have taken the Red Canids of this world all the way to the distance, but Red are certainly a more volatile roster, and I think Pain should be pretty solid here today.
They've set themselves up, surely, to be in the form that they were at the start of the season. Indomitable. We'll get to find out exactly how it plays out over the next couple minutes, because the game has just begun, and Liberty versus Pain kicks off now.
Trajan, hear me out.
Yes.
AC,
Yep.
level 3 mid gank. We wait for Triss to have jump plus bomb. We punish Ahri before she gets ulti.
Okay, right. Put it in the calendar. Level 3, we're checking back, we're looking at mid lane, we're going to see the AC mid gank, the early aggressive jungler, as Karaoke characterized him, and maybe we'll see this one come to fruition, and that would, really unlock that mid jungler, right? If Tristana gets that early kill, you've got even more kill threat, you can try and maybe start getting pressure and turn that into roams to other lanes and just have so much damage to throw down, you can make it work. There's a universe where that starts off the blessed timeline, where Liberty finds a win here today.
My concern is that we see Avenger has taken lethal tempo as opposed to your quintessential all-in rune of Hail of Blades. Which means that if that does happen, and we do get this AC early gank, it's going to be much more difficult to find lethal damage on to Dinkedo than I may have hoped. And we'll probably end up just seeing a very, very stagnated early stage of this laning phase, particularly since Avenger has leveled up his E first. He's going to auto-push the wave. It means that these early ganks, if we see one from AC, are going to be in a fairly compromised position in the lane.
Yeah, we do have AC on that bot side, so we'll naturally be pathing up towards that mid and top lane. Bot lane, we have the trades going forth. Pain already taking control. The Aphelios Lulu been dominating 2v2s for many, many patches now. But the Varus, once it gets a couple of points in those abilities, that trading power really starts to fire back. Those arrows really do sting as Avengers try to make it happen in mid. They're both dropping pretty low. Dinkedo, though, with the corrupting pot, not too worried.
Yeah, and Avenger obviously going to have less inherent sustain or immediate sustain, I suppose, with the 1 health potion, but that Doran's Blade gives him a little bit of health as a base stat, is also going to give him some healing over time with the lifesteal. Early lane pushed in by Avenger, and a nice engage on that bot side already. Heal burned by Pro Delta just to make sure his Aphelios is going to be nice and safe, and you can see the cleanse warranted and forced out by the composition of Liberty.
Yeah, Pro Delta wanted to make absolutely sure there's no funny business going on down there. The potions have already been burnt through, so Bevo not in the best spot as Avenger. Ooh, sidesteps the charm, very nicely done. And in comes that gank in the mid lane. It's level 3 from AC, but Avenger doesn't have the range to finish off that pop. Maybe we could have seen a rocket jump flash into range to get it done, but he had the right call on the play.
Nope, you're exactly right, Trajan. Avenger just a little too untrusting there in the damage that could come through. If he flashes for one more auto attack, it may not look like it, but that in tandem with the extra damage that would have happened on the explosive charge gets first blood on this Ahri. AC sticking around though, doesn't want to allow Dinkedo a free time underneath this turret. Does have teleport, so he can base at any given time, but really just greeding out for these last couple of melee ranged creeps. He's going to be in range of their experience. When he teleports back in, it's not going to be a concern. I love that AC, though, is using the priority of his lanes.
Yeah.
A little bit of time spent in the mid lane forces the Ahri back, and the bot lane winning 2v2 as he steals away this blue buff and is going to have his own top side of the jungle to go back to later on.
Well, there it is. Cleanly done by Liberty there. The pressure onto mid lane. They didn't get the kill, but they turned it into a nice CS lead for Avenger, stealing away the blue buff. And AC, that aggressive jungler, making his presence known early on into this game. So it's another strong start in the other game for Liberty. We are just kind of waiting to see when it falls apart, as tends to be the pattern of Liberty games. But for now, we can at least be happy in this.
And I think that the important point to remind people at home about Liberty is whilst their score may be 1-6, if we ended games at 10 minutes, turned off nameplates and asked you who you thought was going to win, Liberty would probably have an over 50% win rate. Their early games are generally very good. They find leads, are able to get an advantage in an area of the map that typically you could see a stronger mid-game team close out to a victory. It has become that mid-game, though, where they do struggle a little bit with their decision-making, and transitioning leads into wins is obviously what has plagued them. So if we're looking at when we're looking at Liberty, rather, as this team to find early game advantages, and as we've seen already, the little invade on that bot side, it's not surprising to us, and this is more so just the Liberty we've come to expect.
Yeah, for sure. And Pain are certainly a team that don't tend to rush out of the gate. The one game where they drafted a team that needs to have high early tempo and get leads early, it was very bad. It was against Red. They didn't look comfortable. It was not a good game for them, and it's one of their only 2 losses of the split. But on these other games, where they have this very linear, very easy to execute comp, solid lanes that can deal well with the pressure, and then rock up to a 5v5 smelling good, this is where we see Pain really just appear a cut above a lot of these other teams. So many of these players have been playing together for so many splits now. The synergy is obviously there, and Pro Delta has slotted in very, very nicely. So this roster really very polished at this stage.
We did get to see a little glimpse at the top lane. For us coming into this Trajan, this was one of our matchups to watch, as we get to see Kiari and Weiser doing a little bit of scuffling on that top side. I think both of these top laners have been very crucial points of their relative successes. Kiari, even in their losses for Liberty, has looked exceptional in the majority of games that he's played. I'd say maybe 1 or 2 poor performances throughout this entire split, and I don't even think you could give Weiser that amount. Both exceptional performers in their role, and a little bit maybe gated on one side by their team's ability to close out a match.
Yeah, Kiari certainly was putting in a graft to try and get those games over the line. You saw the recent Renekton game versus Red, 14 kills for Kiari in that game. The second highest individual kill score in any game of the split on a top laner is insanity, given the strength of AD carries of the last few patches. He certainly has been trying. It's not quite worked out yet, but we know he's already firing on all cylinders, trying to make it work, as Pain will secure themselves an Ocean Dragon, give themselves a nice little laning regen buff, and we'll head back to business as usual.
Again, just seeing the junglers of either side leverage this bot lane priority to find an advantage. I think B-Boy and Pro Delta sacrificed maybe 2-3 creeps to take that dragon. Now on this top side, it's AC looking for Weiser, who is mini, but isn't in a particular position to get ganked. Fleet Footwork is doing a lot of work, making sure that he's staying nice and topped off in that lane, and also adds that extra element of safety with the movement speed it gives when you proc it.
Certainly safe up there for Wise, who's got that cull stacking up plenty of lifesteal to play with and keep himself topped up there. Juliera pokes on to Pro Delta. That's a lot of damage down off those Blight procs. They are still under their tower, need to contend with that poke coming through from the Calibrum Crescendum as Bvoy on this Aphelios is farming up a Storm. A very successful champion for the region as a whole, and Bvoy is no different. He's been an excellent late game carry for this team.
I mean, you get to see a little bit of a glimpse of what makes Lulu as a champion so strong as well. Juliera stepped up to try and auto-attack Pro Delta. Pro Delta immediately puts the polymorph down, and Juliera's a cupcake for 2 seconds. Yeah. Makes his life exceptionally difficult in these laning phase trades, and also as we get later into the game, Avenger in particular is going to need to be very careful with jumping forward, because if he jumps into a polymorph, that's, 1.5, 2 seconds where it's a very squishy Tristana in the midst of the Pain Gaming composition. And if you don't have things like a QSS, it means you're likely to fall down very quickly.
Exactly. Picking your moment, very, very important for the Liberty roster here. You could end up polymorphed at the wrong time. If you don't quite catch out that Aphelios, we know how well this champion can fight his way out of clutch situations. As now the Herald has been started up. Liberty, the first to the play. See Wiser having a look on the top side, and Pain heading back to the mid lane. They'll concede this objective, get the push on mid instead.
Once again, it's the difference of AD carry roams. Liberty bring Juliera into the mid lane, and that is warrant enough for Pain Gaming to not fight the objective. Of course, you do see Bvoy down on that bot side getting solo experience, solo time with a plate. Red-white means that he shreds through these turret platings. It's 2 going over to Bvoy. Just slightly mess up his gun rotation here. You never want red and purple at the same time, but that should be able to be fixed on his next rotation. And then he should be fine to keep himself in a good spot for the later team fights.
I find it very interesting to see twice today we've had the lower team, right, the underdog team in a matchup, commit resources up to the Herald, while the higher place team just lets their AD carry farm gold. To them, the more important thing is just getting their super reliable hyper carry bot laner gold on the map, and they will concede early objectives to do so because they have confidence that that player will step up and save the game when it's required. Titan succeeded earlier today, and we'll see if Bvoy can do the same job with a similar kind of champion.
I want to point out as well, we've seen 2 Varus AD carries so far today. A slightly different take in build paths for both of them thus far. Last game we got to see IU take the Kraken Slayer, this time Juliera opting into what looks to be a static shift, still an option for it to be Stormraiser, but if history has taught me anything, it's likely to be the former. And I love this build path much more for Juliera. If you can opt into this, into a Nash's Tooth, into a more AP style of build, definitely just very strong on this patch, and also adds to the nature of Varus, where you're playing at your ranges with your Q, playing for Blight procs as opposed to playing for auto attacks.
Yeah, so much burst potential coming out of that OP build right now. We've seen it shred through the tanks as well. We've seen even the Cassantes of this world can melt in front of the AP Varus Blight proc stacking. As Was is going to forge his way into the bot side jungle, get some vision down. Karaoke is still working on the jungle camp there. Haven't seen too much out of either of the junglers since that early scuffle at level 3. As the Herald goes down in mid lane, it's gold into that mid jungle duo. And Avenger trying to get to that first item when we can maybe start to see him leverage this Tristana a bit more.
Now, of course, Tristana, a champion that scales very well with her auto attacks, and you can see that rightly reflected in Avenger opting for the Kraken Slayer first of all. A lot to be said for us favouring Pain Gaming as we get later into the game, just because of how easy this composition is to execute. It's a very standard 5v5 comp. But Liberty do still have double marksman.
Wiser.
Okay.
Threatening him. He jumps away. There was no chance of kill there. Just sending a message in that top side. But he is now ultless for this Chemtech, which could have a little fight over it, as Was rooted up by the Gravitum, turned into a cupcake. But again, another message sent by Pain, but no real threat on the Liberty members.
Kiari's going to go back to base. Now, he has a choice here. He's going to teleport down to the bot side for this Drake, or teleport back to the top lane to catch the turret. Goes up top, so advantage for Pain Gaming now for exclusively Wise's good laning.
Avenger trading with the Kedo in the mid lane. Both drop to about HP. Karaoke still in the river, but there's a gang of Liberty members rotating upwards to push him out. AC with the ultimate to commit, and there goes the Rakan. They want this fight. Juliera trying to follow up. Flashing Julia gets him in range. Eve with the Nature's Grasp, and it's first blood for the Varus as the TP comes in from Wiser. He doesn't quite have the ult, but he's going to have Mega still, and the damage coming through from Dinkado. A lovely buster shot can still not save Avenger. Flashing from Wiser, forces the shot for Juliera. The second carry has fallen, and Liberty are forced back to their turret.
It's a great pick to start with for Liberty, but their carries overcommit. They get taken down. Chiari?
He wants the all-out. You could see him ponderously stepping around him to get the angle, but he's got a support there, and the Cassante is the one having to flash away.
Once again, dodgy re-engages in the mid lane. This time it's Liberty that fall plunder to it. Chiari there forced to flash away from a situation. Honestly, he probably could have kept his ulti. Now the Drake didn't go down, and it means that we're very likely to get either a re-skirmish for it, or we see one of our teams collect a lot of gold on that top side. Replay comes in, and we see Was is the one committing, and Juliera has a decision to make here. Either they all peel away, and they commit to not killing Karaoke, or they have to go forward. And Avenger there, really importantly, uses his W offensively, but doesn't get the reset. And Karaoke falls, and it means that he's left out on his lonesome. Now Drake started up by Liberty.
Looks like a no response on time for Pain. Karaoke is on the area. This is not a particularly fast take, and now we see the Pain members collecting in that jungle corridor. Wiser picking up that gold that you mentioned on the top side. No TP, but the dragon has been secured. So again, it's gold into a laner in exchange for an objective on the map. And Pain Gaming would obviously like to use that gold to win those later fights when it really counts.
Again, quite happy with either one of these teams trading gold for objectives, because I do think that as we get later, our team fights and the execution within said team fights are going to be very important. Double marksman for Liberty versus the Aphelios Lulu. Honestly, I give equal weighting to both of those as we get into the late game.
Yeah.
Just the power of Aphelios Lulu in the late stages is truly terrifying. So as long as teams are putting gold into the correct positions, I'm quite happy with these trades coming through. And Liberty, they stall out the game just a little bit with that dragon, means that whoever it ends up being that takes their soul point, it's going to be 5 more minutes before they get the soul itself.
Keto working on the spotline tower. Avenger having to give the space, but AC round the corner could look to punish. Oh, goes through the goalpost though with the Glacial Prison. They still have the safety of the tower to work with, and now a jump forward. Karaoke has the flash, but Avenger doesn't quite have the range. Dinkedo, with the safety his champion offers, will get himself out of dodge as well. It was a close one, but AC, the critical miss on that ultimate, likely loses them the kill.
Dinkedo still has ulti down there, so I wouldn't be too worried about Was trying to find a fight. Especially since you can see B-Boy and Pro Delta will have first move regardless of what's happening in the bot side.
Ooh, trade of CC there in the mid lane. B-Boy stepping very far past the tower. Cannot quite get the job done as Was has returned to help Juliera out. Varus is sticking around here as well. B-Boy given a lot of respect in the mid.
Yeah, if Pro Delta has actually finished up his Shirelias there, that's a kill for B-Boy and Pro Delta. Juliera would have fallen, didn't have a flash to get out to safety, but this is all on vision as well. I don't expect this recall to be allowed. Yeah.
Yep. There's a little gravitum there. A bit more damage too. Karaoke and Wise have rotated down, but Was is just going to lose out on that timing. Might contest the blue buff as well
surely.
Here. The Herald is there as well. Looks like Pain instead going to turn back for that as a TP into mid lane from Avenger. We have everyone in the area here, Rude. We could be in for a little scuffle.
The mid-game plays from Pain Gaming are just a little better. Their map movements aren't warranting their own teleports, and they can be at the objectives first. Now, 6k HP on this Herald, 5 versus 5, ready in to go.
Wiser about to go Mega. He's got the ultimate. Dinkedo on the flank. Juliera far behind his team. Has to be watchful for that Ari. As the Herald drops lower. Karaoke drops Nature's Graph to try and secure the objective. But AC walks up and takes it. And Dinkedo is forced out of his flank. But will we once again see the Eye held and corralled away by Pain Gaming? You've seen it once today already, and Liberty just don't have an angle. Who wants to sacrifice himself? Who wants to take the bait? Who wants to take the bullet? AC tries to do it, but he gets forced back. Pain unrelenting in the river, and they will deny the Eye.
Every single turret still to play for in this game, Trajan, and that Herald being denied. It's a big win for Pain Gaming. They would have loved to take that for themselves, but they're going to have to do some hard work of their own to pick up a turret. Dinkedo insta-TP's down to this bot side of the rift. Avenger had to walk his way down here, and now with no ulti on Dinkedo, he is a little susceptible to a Tristana jumping on him, but Spidey senses tingling. He recognises that maybe this isn't the position for him to be in. With the Kraken Slayer fully finished on the Tristana, it is a little difficult for the Ahri to withstand the burst.
We will He'll just absorb that gold at his tower instead, but Dinkedo keeping the push on. Really wants to crack this bot lane tower. Avenger happy to soak up that gold as well. As we check in on the items that are coming through here. Varus working on a second. B-Boy, I feel like, hasn't bought in a while. He's channeling the recall. I think this could be a second item done for him. Not quite, in fact. As he steps out, Dinkedo does finally complete that first turret of the game, extending the gold lead to about 1.5k for Pain.
Small decision there from Avenger, but I'm really not a fan of it. Steps to take the Krugs instead of try and contest that bot wave. Could have probably tried to deny it away from the Ahri if you played just a little aggressively, particularly since was in the area. I think you could have played to deny that turret and just deny that gold going over to Pain Gaming for just a little bit anyway. Likelihood is that Wiser takes that top turret at some point anyway. But with 40 seconds on the Drake, if we get those resets coming through, some big ticket items could be connected. We're still waiting on those second items for both of our AD carries. Avenger not particularly close to his second item, but we get to see the Nash's 2 finish for Juliera. Maybe there's a world where Liberty can look for this fight, because 1,000 gold trading, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not the be-all and end-all of a team fight deficit.
It certainly isn't. If they get that CC layered, even Karaoke could be under threat on the front line. TP now in from Kiari. Wiser has already arrived on the bot side as Avenger is rotating up. Pain peeling back into the jungle. Don't want to give away a kill to start this engagement off, but Wiser has a lot of Narbar to stack up.
You can see, though, the Aphelios range really working dividends right now as Kiari gets chunked out from Dinkedo. That's going to signal that the Drake goes over. Just a little bit extra range that is in the favour of Pain Gaming. 1 Charm lands, 1 Calibrum Q lands, and Liberty can't really stand and fight.
Try to maybe turn onto mid instead, but another charm comes in from Dinkedo. Look at the CC fired back at him now. He's surely going to die to this explosive shot, but the shield keeps him alive. B-Boy and Wiser pick up the counter kills. And Pain Gaming again, stony-faced in Liberty's engage. Juliera on his own on the top side. Wiser chasing up. He's got the flash. He's going to have Hop. There it is with the boomerang. Dodges one, but Juliera cannot keep himself alive. It's another fight for Pain.
And this is terrifying for Liberty. They just found the Ahri, caught in 4K, stunned, rooted, all of the above. Weren't even able to take her down. Small little thing there, a great shield from Pro Delta and Dinkedo as well, recognizing that his Ahri passive had about enough stacks to get him a heal, so he ults back into the minion wave. Cassius W gets his little heal there as well. It's the small things, it's the minutiae of League that kept Dinkedo alive right there. See another replay, because this looks to all the world like Liberty should be able to kill an Ahri. Rooted up, hit by Sedge ult as well. Unfortunately, just not enough. Really good re-engage, though, from Wiser. Spots 2 people, slams them away, and again, the top lane play from Pain Gaming Wiser has always been stellar. The sort of thing that we've come to expect, and this is why him as a blind pick for the top lane is so safe for Pain.
And these two teams, when they just rock up 5 versus 5 to a play, I have so much faith in Pain to execute it optimally, whereas Liberty, we just don't know what we're going to see. And again, Pain, with this simple comp, Wiser always finds the angle. Dinkedo getting the absolute maximum out of this Resident Sleeper champion, man. You know, I don't think he's going to build a Medjay's for us, but he's certainly giving us a display of getting the most out of this utility Ahri build. Still dealing damage, keeping himself alive, wasting time of his opponents. Making the absolute most of this pick, and Liberty just cannot find the same value out of any of these engagements.
Gale Force finished for B-Boy, so now he's got that extra level of killer or lethal intention, I suppose. If you see somebody who's just a little too overextended, the Gale Force for the Aphelios is such a good tool to take them down. What's what you'll see between the difference of good Gale Force use and bad is Gale Force is very infrequently used as a defensive tool for our well-positioned AD carries. For the ones that are performing a little suboptimally, it's more of a get-out-of-jail-free card, which I'm not too fan of seeing.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's one of the first times when I started really looking up and paying attention to AD carries in Brazil in the 2022 splits, was when the aggressive Gale Force Aphelios play started coming through from players like Matsukaze, players like the Save. They really started to wake up with this iteration, and that's when I just thought, man, this region's AD carries are actually a little bit nuts. And that was the last generation. We've got a whole new crop coming up here, making waves, making massive plays across the Rift, as Pain now with so much control here in this third game of the day. Avenger looking to pick up a tower in the bot lane. Will trade versus Dinkedo. Jumps in aggressively, in fact, thinks he has the burst, dodges the charm, a minion eats that up, but cannot find the kill threat. Dinkedo is just too
he has
safe.
no E yet. Jumping forward there is really scary.
This is getting a little tight here. The charm goes wide. That should be the end of this play. But B-Boy says, no,
until
it's the end of that play. But I've got another play right here for you. With a Pro Delta in my pocket, drops a trinket on him just to let him know that his days are numbered. And the alcove will only delay the inevitable here. Flashes forward. Did he flash forward? I don't know what Avenger's doing with the flash there. That seems like a bit of a waste. As Liberty trying to capitalize. Let's start up the Baron.
Now, B-Boy Pro Delta, they've got to make a long run up here. Varus does a good job at taking down Barons quickly. TP from Dinkedo behind. It's a 3v4 to stall the play.
And the Sejuani ultimate doesn't quite land, and now they're just 4 people
Oh,
corralled into the river. For Weiser gets ultimate. This is nightmare fuel for Liberty. Dinkedo's already found the last remaining AD carry. Next to go is the Sejuani and Weiser. There to hunt down the remainder. In goes that aggressive Gale Force. Rujin and B-Boy trying to sew it up. Won't quite complete the kill onto Chiari, but the play is done regardless.
Pain Gaming have done such a good job. Not only have they played these team fights and macro in the mid game significantly better than Liberty, but they also shut down Liberty at what we anticipated would be their height, their peak of performance in that early game. At no point did Liberty get a lead, look aggressive, be able to find an advantage in these early stages. And Pain Gaming have performed above and beyond what we have expected from them to begin with, recognizing that their weakness typically falls in this early game.
They really looked pretty much flawless so far. They've given away 1 tower, 1 kill, 1 Drake. Everything else has been in the hands of Pain Gaming. Every week this team improves, day on day, looking more and more polished, more and more deadly in all stages of the game, as they are ready to challenge. The perennial second place team that is Pain Gaming for so many splits now is really trying to get us excited again, Rude. You know, they're trying to get us to believe once again, but I don't know, we've all been hurt too many times.
There have been several second places, 3 back-to-back for Pain Gaming, and not just in regular seasons, in playoffs. Get to the finals and then pain it all away. Dinkedo, top side, absolutely fine. Still has ulti, still has flash.
Pain moving on to this dragon now. No contest to be found, as this will put them on Infernal Soul Point. It seems like the rest of this game could be a bit of a formality, that they have the Baron power play. We'll have to see them execute this one. And an important aspect of any team's playbook, how cleanly you can build up that gold advantage on the power play. Mid lane turret the first to fall. Looks like bot might be the next target.
And for a first Baron, taking down all of your outer structures, typically a very good trend, what I like to call the economy Baron. You take down as much of the gold outside the base as you can, and to make sure that any future fights that you take are at such a gold advantage.
The cleanse out of B4, they almost catch him out, but he has to flash and the Lulu ult saves him. Liberty try desperately to flee. I'm sorry guys, we didn't mean it. Please don't hurt us, we'll never do it again. Oh. But B-Boy is melting them through a Dinkedo from the flank. It's disaster again for Liberty. Pain Gaming punished them harder than anyone has ever been punished for attempting to kill an AD carry. And this is just going to take the whole dang game away. 8k damage.
Oh, insane Trajan. There was not even 2k damage between the entirety of Liberty. B-Boy cleanse flashes out to safety and isn't in any way deterred. Immediately turn and face, pump out as much DPS as possible, and lay waste to Liberty.
Liberty tossed the paper airplane at Pain and